Hello everyone, Johnny Miner here, and today we are continuing to learn Japanese with Super Mario Bros. Super Mario Advance 4, and so Super Mario Bros. 3, but this version. Last time we started the game, checked, watched the intro, checked the letter included there. And that's why also why we chose this version in particular, as otherwise it wouldn't have been there. And then we finally started actually playing the game, and we did half of World 1. And so today we'll definitely finish World 1. Read, translate, explain the writings we'll see, and then of course continue from there. Okay, without further ado, just a reminder that today there was a Nintendo Direct. And of course, due to my technical limitations, we'll have to watch it tomorrow. And so we'll do that. We'll watch, I react to the Japanese version tomorrow at the usual Sunday hour, so 3 p.m. for me. Simply check your time zone in the description, and of course when I set up the stream itself. Okay, now without further ado, let's start. Super Mario Advance 4. We've already watched the intro, so we skip it. I play alone. Super Mario Bros. 3. And yes, as you can see, World 1. I think the 5 next to it is the number of levels we've played. And yes, it should be 5 levels because there are 4 plus the fortress. We'll see, of course, how the number, what it becomes after finishing this session. Okay, we continue. Again, we play as Mario and Luigi. And yeah, luckily by getting to the doing the fortress, we were able to save the game, and so we can continue from here. We played the fortress with Mario, and so now we are playing as Luigi. Stage 5, I'm pretty sure it's said, because of what I mentioned before. It's actually the 6th one when you count also the fortress. We have another of those blocks that send you up in the sky, to get money, as you can see here, a bonus part of the stage. And yeah, now we have, in this case, our pipe to go back. And yeah, we get back here. So at the end of that section outdoors, well, the end actually here, we could go back inside there, but say we can go back inside here. Of course, then I get hit by a plant. Well, and right at the end of the stage, poor Luigi, always happens to him. And with that we get a third panel. only one up because unfortunately they were different. 2 stars and 1 flower, unlike Mario here who has 2 stars, so here we might get 3 stars and so way more 1-ups. And yes, it was stage 5, so we can play stage 6. Yeah, this there will be other writings, but this game is definitely less intensive than Kirby's Adventure. And honestly, the reason why well, I anticipate that I'd like to play also the remake of Kirby's Adventure at some point, of course not immediately, on the channel, to check out the differences, as there are some also potentially in text. I don't remember that from when I played it. While from what I've seen, the text is mostly the same between the versions of Super Mario Bros. 3, so it made more sense to play the latest one, and also because this one has the e-reader levels, as I mentioned last time. I would like to... okay. And also there's a difference because actually they made a mistake in other versions, but we'll see that when the time comes. It's a pretty funny one. I don't remember how it is in English. But my guess would be that, yeah, they kept the mistake in English. Okay, we start here and then run, try to get a star. Perfect, we got a star, so we get the firework. And 5 1-ups, 5-ups. Yeah, poor Luigi. Well, I think, well, we could technically share lives here, and we'll do so. So yes, we'll be kind to poor Luigi, of course. It makes sense to keep one more on Mario, since he's the one who got them. Yes, it's nice that you can share lives between the 2 brothers. At Oda House, we've already seen its, we've already checked it out, its text, so we won't do that again. Let's see what we can get. A mushroom. Unfortunately, the worst prize you can get, but oh well. Well, I could use it now, to be completely honest. Sorry, L it is. So that we don't risk dying against these Hammer Bros. Unlikely, but you never know, especially with my luck as Luigi. And yeah, by defeating the Hammer Bros, the fourth fight, we get a star. And so we can actually do the castle. Well, as we'll see soon enough, actually, the final level, which isn't the castle itself in this game, as Mario, Tanuki Mario, Raccoon Mario, and here there's actually more text. We take a picture because I'm pretty sure that pretty sure it's I wasn't sure, I should have said that it wouldn't go away, but luckily it doesn't, so I didn't need to take the photo, but the picture, but took it anyway, just in case. And so we can check this text. First and foremost, Todd is the one who's speaking, as we can see. Then there's that quote-unquote enemy with the crown. Tai-hen. We've seen that before. Funny enough, in this very series, in Todd's letter, in the intro, Tai-hen literally means would be big change. It's a Chinese compound, is an accented, and that's why I said Tai-hen. And it means, by extension from the evolution is big, literally big change, becomes then immense, enormous, great. And so by extension, as an adjective, it's an adjective, and so by extension also serious, grave, dreadful, terrible, difficult, hard, challenging, but can also be used as an adverb, as is, without adding anything, and so also from great, greatly, from terrible, terribly, awfully, but also generic, very. Then we have Osama ga konna sugata ni kaerareta yo. We have first and foremost Osama. O on its own means king. It's the Chinese reading of the character. And funny enough, it's one of those kanji with only Chinese readings, no Japanese ones. Well, technically there are, but they'd be ones used only in proper names, so so-called nanori. Don't remember, we've seen the nanoru, but in the previous series, but I want to check the accent on nanori. Okay, yeah, nanoru was accented, and luckily nanori is accented on the last syllable, so as per the rule. But yeah, as I was saying, O, king, and then we simply add sama. By the way, O on its own accented on the first syllable. Unfortunately, when we attach sama, it becomes unaccented, so be careful. O sama, sama simply, again, the suffix honorific after a person's name, position, and so on. And so usually translated as Mr., Mrs., Miss, Ms. Yeah, simply it's used after a person's name or position, and it's honorific. Usually, otherwise we will use son, which most likely don't think I've ever actually seen it, but I think it's also, considering its form, it's actually an abbreviation of sama. Same meaning, but it's technically still honorific or respectful, but it's way more common. Sama is even more honorific, respectful. And of course we can see it here with king, for example. Then we have the subject particle ga, Then we have konna. Konna is again a word in the Koso Ado series. As a reminder, again, ko close to both the speaker and the listener, so far from the speaker, close to the listener, a far from both, do the interrogative. And then in this case, we had na, double N, na. It's actually a contraction by the way, luckily it's like other most Koso Ado series, they follow the same rules for the accent. Koso A are unaccented, Do is accented on the first syllable, and so konna in this case unaccented. It's a contraction of kono yona, which literally means kono, this, as the demonstrative adjective. Yo, we have seen it as a way, also way to method of doing with verbs, appearing, looking with verbs, with nouns, and that's most likely it's basic translation, form, style, design. I'd say also I add way, and so by extension like, similar to, in the way, in the style of something. By the way, funnily enough, as we will see also when we study the kanji for yo, even though more often than not it's written in kana, would be the same of sama. But yes, nowadays it's written, the sama is usually written with the kanji yo in kana, also to avoid confusion, also because yo has a grammatical function. So literally would be this way, this sort also, but and so like this. Kono yo na contracted konna. So this kind of, this sort of, and then we have a noun. It's an adjective, as can be seen also by the na, which in our case is sugata. Technically, well, I'd say, even though nowadays it's written with a single kanji, judging by its structure, the syllables composing it, I'd say it's actually a compound, technically, a strictly Japanese compound between su, we'll check it, su, the one for one's nature, one's feelings, oneself, also plain, unadorned, other meanings. And so unadorned, also undecorated, unadulterated. In the dictionary it says also au naturel. But yes, because of that unadulterated, then we had kata. In this case, I'd say it's the one for type, style, model pattern, and other extended meanings. There's another one, and it's worth mentioning that there's also a word katachi that comes clearly from kata, the one for type, style, model, pattern. Katachi means form, shape, figure. Of course, then we add we can also see that it's most likely a compound because there's that ga instead of ka, typical of the second part of strictly of compounds when it's strictly a word of strictly Japanese origin. So literally would be unadulterated type, style, model, pattern, or even better, form, shape, figure. And so then we get actually the meaning of sugata, by the way, accent on the first syllable, which means figure, form, shape, and other extended meanings, appearance, also state, condition. But yes, in our case, shape, this sort of shape. Then we have the particle ni, in this case to, as in to, because of the following verb, which is kaerare ta, from kaeru. Not the one I think we have seen before, at least once, I don't remember. I think at the end of the previous series, Kairu accented on the ka instead of the e because it becomes a diphthong. Meant to return, to come back, to come home. This one is Kairu. There are actually several other, and by the way, the other one was a verb, Godan verb, despite being in Eru. This one is Kairu. There are technically several ones with different meanings and different kanji, but this one is definitely the one which means to change. Also to change to alter, to transform, to convert, to turn, to vary. Also to reform, to revise, to amend, by extension, but yes. Turn into, and that's why we have the ni. This one is unaccented, kairu, and it's a reverb, it's done verb. So we can then change the u into a and add re, ru. Here we can see only the re because of further conjugation, but to make the passive form of the verb is changed, is turned into. And then, last but not least, the passive form is also a reverb, it's done verb, so we can drop the ru to add ta to make the ta form, and so the past form of the verb in the plain speech. And then, last but not least, we have yo, the final sentence particle, which means hey, or also, even though it isn't said by the, I'd say also, you know. The meaning is it has several meanings: certainty, emphasis, contempt, request, warning. Also used to call out to someone after. In that case, it's actually directly after a noun, unlike here as the sentence end. But yes, now we can translate. It's terrible, awful, serious. The king has been changed into, has been turned into this sort of shape. Then we can check the final part. Maho no tsue o dorikaeshite kudasai. First we have Maho. It's a Chinese compound, which means magic. Unaccented. It's a Chinese compound. Then we have the possessive particle no. And then we have tsue. Tsue, which means, we check the accent. Okay, actually, tsue. So, accented on the tsu, the first syllable, tsue. So here, maoho no tsue. Tsue means cane, and so also as in the sense of walking stick, but by extension staff, wand. So of course in our case wand of magic wand. Then we have the object particle o, also written as o, as wo, and pronounced as such in careful speech and also singing. And then we have our verb torikaeste, and then we have also kudasai after it, but we see it in a second. We see it again as we have already seen it before, also in this very series. First we have torikaeste, which is a compound verb. Toru means should be accented. We have seen it before, but we'll check. Means to take. So also other extended meanings: to pick up, to grab, to catch, to hold, and extended meanings: to get, for example, to obtain, but the fundamental meaning is to take. And yes, it's accented, as I remembered. It's a U verb codan verb, so we can change the U into I to make the continuative form, and so to attach the other verb, part of the compound, which is kaesu. Actually accented, so kaesu. Again, what I mentioned before of kairu. This one is written with another different kanji, and of course in this case we have it's insu instead of ru, kairu, because it's actually the transitive form of the verb. With the same kanji, there is also kairu, which in that case means to return, to come back, to go back. And yes, so same origin, same as the other one, with the meaning to return, to come home, but they use different kanji to specify further the meaning of the second one. But here we have kaisu, so the transitive form as I mentioned. And so to return something to restore, to put back other meanings, there's also a meaning specifically when used as the second part of the compound, but in this case it's well, it could apply, but here it says more literally. The meaning in that case it's to do something back, for example, speaking back, throwing back. But yeah, in this case it's take, even better, get back. As in back, to regain, to recover, and so on. The accent of the compound is luckily the same as kaisu, so accented, and again on the ka instead of so on the third to last syllable, unlike usually when it's the second to last in the case of accented verbs. It's a verb codon verb, so we can change the. We have to follow the rules to make that a form. Last time I even sang the song, and so su becomes ste. So the easiest one. We make here the form to then add kudasai. Kudasai from kudasaru, one of the verbs of giving. Something superior gives to an inferior. Then we change it's one of those verbs that of those honorific verbs, because as we have seen it's typical of some of those that drop the ru and add e, or even better it would be ru becomes ri and then the r falls to make the continuative form. In this case, it ends like this, but it's actually an abbreviation because it would usually it used to add masse. There's one verb that still does that, but most don't of these. Masse, the imperative form of mas, the auxiliary verb used for the polite speech. And so kudasai is give, as in make the favor of doing the action of that verb, and so it becomes the polite form of the imperative polite form. So the translation becomes please implied. Of course, since we are in polite speech, it's better to add it in English. Please get back the magic wand. And we'll do that now. And yeah, as we can see, the actual level isn't the castle, it's the airship. The airships are the castles of this game. I'd like to be careful and keep my power up, not only because of course it's useful to do so. I use the rewind in case it's needed, even though I think there might be, yeah, there is actually a block correctly. Yeah, we won't get that fire flower for now. We keep that Raccoon Mario. Not only because it's useful, but because it's having certain power-ups gives you specific dialogue, as we'll see. I guess by entering this pipe we can face the boss, which is Larry in our case, of this world. Oops. Yeah, so we'll actually go back. Yeah, I have to be careful here because of the jump. Yeah, if it weren't for the writing, I'd keep on going without rewinding, but it's better to get it now, and so we don't have to worry about it later. And yeah, we can, by defeating Larry, we get the magic wand. Course clear, of course it says. In katakana from English. And so yeah, we then go back. There's the king. It says he says this, and good thing I got it. And then we have a letter from Peach. I'm not sure if that stays. Looks like it. Okay, so first and foremost, we'll check what the king says. Actually, I think I'm mistaken, because in this case, we could have got the fire flower, or the, or even if we didn't rewind and were Big Mario or Small Mario, we will get the same dialogue, because this is the basic one. I'm pretty sure you need the Tanuki suit to get the one I was thinking of. But oh well, we'll check this one. First and foremost, we have Yokata, Yokata. Which comes from E, it's the adjective E, which means good, excellent, fine, nice, pleasant, agreeable, but the fundamental meaning is good. And of course other extended meanings. E is actually a simpler form, more recent form, the traditional one, which can be still seen, which can still be seen nowadays sometimes, but as we'll soon see, it shows up regardless when you conjugate it. It's an adjective. The traditional form is yoi. Both are accented. Then we can make, we can drop the E and add ku to make the, we can call it adverbial form of the adjective, as it's used also to make the corresponding adverb, but it's actually used also in conjugation, like in this case, because then we would add atta, atta from aru, the verb which means to be, as in to exist. Then we can, it's a verb, sorry, it's a u-verb, codam verb, so we have to follow the rules. And so one ending in ru, so to make the ta form, it becomes a double consonant ta. Again, most likely it was at once ri ta, then the e fell, and so rta, difficult to pronounce, becomes a double consonant, and it's much easier. Atta. So the ta form of the verb, and so its past form. And so we would have yoku atta. And then it simply becomes, it gets contracted. And so yoku atta, yokatta, ka, ku from ku a, simple enough. And so we have this katta, which is the past form in the affirmative of adjective, of e adjectives. So literally, yokata, which should be accented on the yo, as per the rule. Can find it here, of course, because it's conjugated, but that's how it should work. Literal means it was good. And so it becomes like something like thank goodness in English. Thank goodness, as if something literally was good, it seems that it's a way to express that it was that it was good, as in also used, for example, as a relief, as an exclamation of relief. Good thing that implied that things went this way. Then we have moto no sugata ni modoreta, and it actually ends there. Moto, we have seen it before. We've even studied the kanji, even though actually there are other kanji that can be used with it. And there's one that's used more often than the one we studied on its own, moto. But the meaning is the same, origin, source. It's a noun, so then we can add no to the possessive particle of to make literally of origin, and so it actually becomes kind of like an adjective, original, to connect it and modify the following noun, which is again sugata, original form, shape, ni, again to, as in into, or also simply to, depends on the following verb, but more like in the meaning into, regardless. And then we have the verb modoreta. We have seen it before, modoru. Funny enough, in the previous series, it was the famous sign when you went back to go back to the previous level, so world in Kirby's Adventure. And yes, its meaning is to return, to go back. Then let's finish the conjugation first, so we can fully translate. It's a U verb godan verb, so we can change the U into E and add ru, here we can see it because of further conjugation, to make the potential form of the verb. To be able to go back to the original form. And then, last but not least, it's the potential form is a ru verb ichidan verb. So we can drop the ru to add ta to make the ta form. And so the past form of the verb in plain speech. I, as we have seen, and also because of the it makes sense also in translation, modoru is the intransitive verb, so I implied of the king speaking was able to go back to return to my original form. My, of course, implied again. Then we have arigato. Arigato is the classic thank you, thanks in Japanese. Technically comes from arigatai, a compound adjective, in this case from aru, the verb to be, to exist. Then it's a u verb, coda verb. We can change the u into i to make the continuative form. Here required to make the compound by adding the following adjective, which is gatai, from katai, unaccented, on its own. Here with the duck 10, and so the voiced consonant, again because it's a compound and the second part is of strictly Japanese origin. Katai on its own means difficult, hard, and so when used after the continuative form, the muscle stem of a verb, it becomes, the meaning is difficult to, hard to, in our case literally to be. By the way, unfortunately, as we'll see when the time comes, but I anticipate it here, usually to make other difficult to, hard to with other verbs, we use a different adjective, nikui. So this one is dedicated to this expression. I don't remember if other ones, but this is the typical one. Arigatai, luckily also accented, so on the ta, on the second to last syllable, as per usual. Literal means it's be difficult to be, as in being a difficult, I'd say being a difficult spot because someone made us a favor or something like that. And so arigatai becomes by extension, and it's its actual meaning nowadays, grateful, thankful. Then we can change the i, well, we drop the i and add ku to make the adverbial form, actually here for further conjugation, to add gozaru. We can see it here, but it would, because it's actually an abbreviation. Usually the extended form would be arigatou gozaimasu. And so, yeah, we would add gozaru, which is the polite form, honorific form of the to be, as from the honorific form of aru. And yet again, as we can see, gozaimasu, while being technically a u verb, godan verb, it's one of those honorific ones that become the ru is dropped, and we add i again, just like for kudasaru. Most likely, actually, it would become gozari, and then the r dropped. Gozai, continuative form of the verb, to then add mas, and so make the polite form gozaimasu. And then, last but not least, we have why it becomes this to instead of gataku gozaimasu, it becomes to-u, because first and foremost the k dropped. And so it would become ga-ta-u, tau. But unfortunately, due to the evolution of the Japanese language, those diphthongs a-u become o-u, so long o. And so we have our form arigatou gozaimasu, then abbreviated into arigato. By the way, on its own, accented on the ri. Arigatou gozaimasu. Arigato. Even though you'll often hear it with seemingly different accents, also because of the emphasis given to this word, but technically the pitch accent is arigatou. So high only on the ri. But yes, simply arigato means thank you, thanks. Then last but not least, we have that part. Pichi hime kara tegami ga kite orimasu. Thank you, R827. Okay. First and foremost, we have Pichi. Of course, Peach. Peach's name in Japanese, from same word as in English. We check its accent as an actual word, but should be on on the P as expected, according to the original accent in English. Then we have hime, princess. I'll check the accent on its own. Okay, on its own it would be hime, accented on the first syllable. Hime. And of course it's used also as the title, Princess Peach. Of course in Japanese in reverse, because the title goes after the name, just like for san, sama. So Princess Peach. Then we have the particle kara, from Princess Peach. And then we have a comma. As you might notice, the usual comma in Japanese, it's actually different from ours. It's that slanted stroke from the top left to the bottom right. We have seen it also in some kanji. And by the way, also the dot would be usually a small circle instead of just our classic dot. But of course here it uses a simple dot also for convenience, I bet, since it's the GBA. I guess we have tegami. Tegami means letter, and yet again it's actually a compound. By the way, unaccented. Okay. Compound between te, hand, we've even studied that kanji, and then kami. This one accented on the last syllable. As we see, there is another kami accented on the first with a different meaning. The one, you might have heard it before, the one for God, also known, the Japanese ones, also known just like that as kami, even in English and other languages. But yes, this is kami, accented on the last syllable, means paper. So literally, of course, then changed again kami. Then we had the duck ten, so the voiced consonant, because it's a compound. The second part is of strictly Japanese origin. Literally, hand, paper, letter, note. Hand paper as, of course, paper written by hand originally. And so yes, letter, note. So then we had the particle ga, the subject particle, and then we have the verb kite plus the auxiliary one orimasu. First and foremost, we have kite from kuru, to come, to make accented, by the way. To make the te form, unfortunately, we simply have to remember it because it's one of the completely irregular verbs, just like suru, to do, unaccented, that one. So it becomes kite with the e barely heard if at all because it's between unvoiced consonants. And so usually the accent also moves on the on the other syllables, on the te, kite. The te form here required by the auxiliary verb orimasu. Orimasu comes from oru. I check the accent of this one. There are other ones, but this one is definitely it's a specific one, since it's the one that usually comes as an auxiliary verb after the te form. But on its own, it means to be, of animate things, unlike aru. Aru is for inanimate ones. So oru is for animate ones, so people and animals. And you might remember that there's another verb with the same meaning, to be, the sense to exist, of animate things. Hiru, unaccented. And that's because oru is actually simply the humble form of iru. The meaning is the same. And so actually is the same, the usage. Te iru, we have seen it before, is a continuous action or a continuous state. In this case, I'd say a continuous state, and so instead of is arriving, has arrived. And so is in the state of having arrived. And then, of course, oru is a u verb codant verb, so we can change the u into e to make the continuative form, to then add mas, the polite, and make the polite form. And so the translation is from Princess Peach, a letter has arrived. And there we have the translation of this dialogue. I'd say that now, well, we technically have here our letter also in game. We'll check that after the usual break, around 5 minutes as usual. So see you then in around 5 minutes. And we are back. And so we can continue. We technically could start the game again to check the letter, but I'll do it from the album. So we don't risk to make it go away by pressing a button accidentally. And so here we have actually quite a lot to read, as it's a letter from Peach. First and foremost, we have Ogenki desu ka? Ogenki. Well, first and foremost, we have O, which is the usual honorific prefix. O usually with words of strictly Japanese origin. There are some exceptions. Go with ones of Chinese origin. And funny enough, Genki is actually such an exception, since Genki is actually a Chinese compound. Gen, well, by the way, first and foremost, on its own, Genki is accented on the first syllable, Genki. I check Ogenki with the prefix, as unfortunately sometimes it changes. Unfortunately, I can see it here. I quickly check the physical dictionary. Okay, got the physical dictionary as usual. Let's see if we can find it here. Otherwise, let's hope it actually stays on the same spot as Genki on its own. Even though I'm pretty sure there are, unfortunately, some exceptions. Again, nope, can't find it. So we'll simply keep in mind Genki and hope that it stays there. It's useful to see the meaning of the kanji that of which it's composed. Gen is technically beginning, former time, origin. It's actually the most common kanji for the reading, also the strictly Japanese reading, moto, which we have seen before. The way I'm not sure we've checked before the accent of moto. Well, actually, moto. So, moto. Okay. Origin. So, original. And then we have ki. We've seen it before. Unaccented. Spirit, mind, heart. By extension, nature, disposition. Other extended meanings. We've seen it also for care attention, for kyotsukete, be careful, literally pay attention. In Japanese, literally apply, add attention, pay attention in English, be careful. Ki, you might have heard it in Japanese martial arts, or in Chinese ones as qi, because of the further evolution of the Chinese language, but it's the same. So, original nature, disposition, technically also spirit, mind, heart. And so it actually, the meaning, its meaning of Genki is lively, full of spirit, energetic, vigorous, vital, spirited, full of spirit. So the original spirit, and so full of, the original one is when one is full of it, of the spirit. Of course, not other things. By extension, this, and by, of course, because of energetic, vigorous, vital, it gets the meaning healthy, well, fit, in good health. And that's where we get the meaning used here. Of course, first we have to add, it's an adjective, so we have to add the copula. In our case, des, and so the polite one. And last but not least, we have ka, a sentence final particle used to make the interrogative, the sentence interrogative indicates a question. And technically, in Japanese, with the ka on its own, we could then put a simple dot, a period, and it would be a question even like that, just like that. But as we can see here, we can also find the usual interrogative mark from English to further specify that it's a question. Also for stylistic reason, but yeah, also to be completely unambiguous, because of course there are also, I can mention that there are some rhetorical questions with ka also, but just keep in mind that if you find ka and then the dot period, it still usually works as a question. And so literally, this means, are you, well, you have seen full of spirit, so vigorous, by extension, healthy. Are you well? You implied, of course, and also kind of indicated by the honorific prefix o. It's one of the usages of that, unless it's straight up required to make certain honorific forms. In other cases, it can also be used, just like here, technically, to indicate that it's the other person, because of course we wouldn't use the honorific prefix usually for something that's ours, that pertains to us. And so it's implied, it's indicated, implied also by that. So it would be how are you in English, better, closer to the literal translation, are you well? Then we can continue. Moshi obake ni deattara, senaka o mukete iru to, oikakete kuru no de, kyotsukete kudasai ne. Quite a sentence, but we'll go step by step. First and foremost, we have moshi. Moshi, which means if, or better, I'd say the other translation also given here in the dictionary are better. In case, supposing, in the sense that technically, as we have actually seen in the previous series, I don't think maybe also once at least here in this one, to make the if, when, so conditional clauses, we have several ways in Japanese, but they are conjugations, additions to the verb. This moshi, it should be, by the way, yes, accented on the first syllable, so moshi. Also, moshi, could technically be also reduced to mosh because of the e at the end after an unvoiced consonant is barely heard, if at all, even though it depends. More often it's at the end of a sentence, like for mass. But yes, it's an if, but more like an additional if used to introduce that it's a conditional clause is coming. The actual if when is in the conjugation of the verb, as we'll see soon enough. Then we have obake. Obake is actually technically from a verb. The o is again the honorific prefix. And in this case, luckily, it's regular, as because bake is of strictly Japanese origin. Bake comes from the verb bakeru. Bakeru means to take the form of, to assume the shape of, to turn oneself into, transform oneself into. Also by extension, to disguise oneself as, and other extended meanings. Bake, then bakeru, it's a ru verb, it's an verb, so we can drop the ru to make the continuative form, and so the corresponding noun. Bake, luckily, by the way, accented on the last syllable as per the rule, and so transforming oneself, taking on another form, disguising oneself on its own. By adding the honorific prefix, we actually get obake, accented on the ba instead. And here we technically can see a case in which when we add the prefix o, the accent changes. Could be also because in this case it becomes a word of its own. The meaning becomes ghost, apparition, also by extension goblin, monster, demon. Why that's the case? Well, technically first it would become a monster, and then by extension ghost, most likely, because it's of course actually refers to creatures, monsters in the Japanese folklore of certain yokai. We check the accent of that, by the way. Like tanuki, raccoon dogs, foxes, kitsune. We check the accents of those while we are at it. Okay, yokai is an accent, as expected, is a Chinese compound. Tanuki. This one is quite useful for this game. Actually accented on the first syllable, so tanuki. We check kitsune, even though we won't see it in this game. Unaccented kitsune. And so yeah, because of those yokai who change, who transform into humans and so on, obake becomes first and foremost monster, but then by extension it became and is the classic word in Japanese for ghost. Like in this case, then we add the particle ni. In this case, in this particular case, it means with. Unfortunately, not the usual to, because it's simply required by the verb. The verb, which is deattara, from deau, which is actually a compound verb from deru. We've seen it before. It means to exit, to go out, accented. Au, which means to meet, to encounter, to see. By extension, I usually with a different kanji, to have an accident, to have a bad experience, as if you encounter, because you encounter the accident, the bad experience. Au accented also. Deau, so literally to go out and meet. The meaning becomes to meet by chance, to come across. And so a further specification of the verb au to meet in general. This one is to meet by chance. Of course, it's our case, makes sense considering the meaning here. The au, luckily, accented, just like au. Of course, deru was, it's root verb, it's an verb, so we can drop the ru and add to have the continuative form. Here required to attach the second verb of the compound, au, deattara. Then we can change the, it's the au, just like au, is a u verb, codine verb, so we have to follow the rules to make that a form. Being in u, as I mentioned, again, it's originally was hu, pu, and that's why with that p is why it then becomes a double consonant ta, because it's easier to pronounce. Deattara with the p, of course, then it becomes easier with a double consonant. We make that a form, and then in this case required the past form of the verb, required because we then add ra to make one of the forms of if, when, so conditional form. Again, as I mentioned before, this one puts the focus on the action of the condition having happened, because again, it comes from the ta form, and so the past form of the verb makes sense. Puts the focus on the action having already happened. So in our case, if you you meet by chance, or better, you have met by chance a ghost. And so yes, the ni is required by the verbs of au. The verbs which mean to meet require ni as a particle in Japanese. Unfortunately, you simply have to remember it. Then we have in this case, let's say, by the way, when you have met with the more the temporal meaning, when you have met a ghost, despite the moshi at the start, because as we'll see why in a second. Then we have senaka. Technically a compound noun from se, which on its own means back, se unaccented, by the way. Also by extension, reverse, rear side, back, for example, of a chair, spine of a book. As we'll see, but I'll introduce it here, by extension, the back, and so also the height, stature of a person. I guess because you measure, they measured it from the back, as considering the back that is a big chunk of the height, stature of a person. But yes, here simply back. And then we would have naka. Actually, on its own accented on the na, so on the first syllable, naka. Usually means inside, interior, middle, center, within, or by extension from inside, the middle. So technically would be the middle, the center of the back. Senaka actually simply becomes the word for back of the body, the most used one. As we see, se on its own is used more usually for the stature, height, stature. So back of the body, then the object particle o. Then we have the verb muketeiru from mukeru. We check its accent, but it means to face. Well, to turn towards, to face, to point, to aim, to direct to. And then other extended meanings, including, for example, to head, to go towards, because of course, to face, to point, to aim, and then head to a certain location. By the way, its accent is, okay, unaccented, ukeru. It's a ru verb, it's an verb, so we can drop the ru to make, to then add, simply add te to make the te form. Here required by the following to add the auxiliary verb iru, as I mentioned again already this episode. The continuous either action or state of the verb in the te form. I'd say in this case, well, it could be either technically. In translation, better if you keep on facing, well, the back implied of the ghost. And I anticipated actually that then we had to make another form of conditional clause if when. This one I say is more if, and it's actually the ones with to more like the zero conditional in English. So if that happens, automatically, inevitably, the other what is said in the second part happens. Sorry, by the way, by checking I quickly checked the following part. So if you, if you point your back towards the ghost, and we see what happens. Oikakete kuru. First we have a compound verb, oikakeru. We quickly check. O, which means to chase. We'll check its accent. Okay, O, unaccented. To chase, to run after, to pursue, to follow after, other extended meanings. It's a verb colon verb, so we can change the U into E to make the continuative form and then attach the second part of the compound, which is kakeru, usually written without kanji, but most likely I'd say in this case it's the one, not the one I think we have seen before, which means to hang up and so on, by extension to put on, for example, of glasses, because they hang. This one is kakeru. I'm trying to find it to check the accent, which means to run. To dash, technically by extension, to race, to gallop on horseback. Yes, the fundamental meaning. To run, I'd say even better to dash, because there's technically another verb which means to run, as we'll eventually see. The accent is kakeru, accented, also in this case, just like kakeru, the one which means to hang up, and so on. And so literally to chase and run, and so it's simply puts further emphasis on the chasing and running after someone. There's the emphasis on the running with kakeru, but the meaning is quite similar to the one of O. By the way, the compound verb is luckily accented, just like kakeru, perfect, oikakeru. Then we can drop the ru and add te to make the te form, because it's a ru verb, it's a verb. The form required by the following auxiliary verb, which is kuru. We've already seen it, to come. And so we could translate it technically as to come by running after, by chasing, or even better, it technically is, again, the kuru simply shows the direction of the verb, and since the ghost comes, chases after you, comes to you. That's why we have the tekuru form. Then we have node, technically a particle, which means because. It's actually a compound of no. Here actually more the one used to nominalize verbs. So also with the meaning the fact. And that's why we have then the meaning because. And then we have in this case most certainly the form of the copula. Being the fact of and so on being like that, and that's why it has the node as the meaning because. And then we have what I've actually anticipated before, Kiotsukete, apply the key, in this case care attention, so pay attention. Then we can, of course, again, skeru is ru verb, it's an verb, we drop the ru at te to make the te form, required by to add kudasai. Literally make the favor of paying attention. Please make the favor of paying attention. Please implied because it's an abbreviation of kudasai again of the imperative, and so the polite imperative. Last but not least, we have ne, the final sentence particle, which means okay, right. Has several meanings. The fundamental one is used as a request for confirmation or agreement. And so we can translate, if you face, if you point back towards a ghost, implied because it shows up when you meet by chance a ghost, since because the ghost runs after implied you, please pay attention. Then we can finally see the other part. Well, we have two sentences there. Takaramono o hitotsu okurimasu. First and foremost, we have takaramono, a compound noun. As we can see already, we have the second part is mono. We have already studied, even its kanji, accent on the last syllable, means thing as in object, contrast with koto, thing as in matter, fact. And then before it, we have takara, should be, yes, accented on the last syllable. Takara means treasure. So takaramono, by the way, pay attention because it becomes unaccented, despite being a compound. You could potentially see it as it getting the accent of mono, but then, of course, being accented on the last syllable when you don't add anything else, it's pronounced the same way as unaccented words. Or simply remember that it's unaccented, this compound. Literally, treasure, thing. So, simply treasure. Or even better, treasured item, prized possession, treasured item, the closest one. Then we have the object particle O. And then we have hitotsu. Again, we have already seen it. It's the numeral plus counter combination. Since the counter is tsu, the general purpose counter of strictly Japanese origin, we have to add strictly Japanese numerals. In our case, hito, which means one of a not specified thing, not specified by the nature of the counter. So the general purpose one, accented on the to, hitotsu. And as you can see here, immediately after, we have the verb. This is a typical position of the numeral plus counter combination. To say, as we'll see soon enough, give, or even better in this case, gift, one of a certain object, in our case a treasured item. This is a typical spot for those. We have seen, I think, in the previous series, maybe also in the Zelda one, definitely in Kirby's Adventure, you can also put the numeral plus counter combination before a noun by adding the possessive particle no. And yes, you can still do it, but this is the most typical position for numeral plus counter. So keep it in mind. It will definitely show up again, and you need it to use it in Japanese. And yes, as I anticipated, we have the verb okurimasu. Okuru from okuru, I think unaccented. And there technically are two okuru written with different kanji. The most common one is the one to send. Of course, other meanings: to dispatch, to forward, to transmit, to ship, to remit. And so, by extension, of course, to see someone off and to bid farewell to. Well, that one, unfortunately, in the sense to bid farewell to the departed. By extension, also okuru, to spend time, literally send time away, to pass. And so by extension also to leave. But yes, the fundamental meaning is to send. Then there's this other okuru, also unaccented, written with a different kanji, which means to give as a gift. And so by extension also to confer, to bestow, to award. Most likely they have the same origin, and simply to send, it became then to send as a gift, and so simply to give as a gift. Of course, it's both are u-verb, Godan verb, so we can change the u into i to make the continuative form, to then add mas, the polite and make the polite form. And so the translation becomes I'm sending you. Literally in Japanese, simply I send you. or better, one treasured item, but be careful about the position of hitotsu, directly before the verb, the typical position. And yeah, there's the translation of that. Nanika no oyaku ni tatete kudasai. And funny enough, we see again this form with which we have seen before, maybe even in this series. I'm actually forgetting currently. But yes, first and foremost, we have nani, which means what. Then we add ka to make the corresponding sam word. In this case, what as in which thing, and so it becomes something. Ka could be from the same as the one, the interrogative one, and so it becomes something, somebody, somewhere, and so on. Some, and so a not certain thing. And because of that uncertainty, we have we add the interrogative particle to make these some words, the words with some before them. Something. Then we have the possessive particle no. Then we have oyaku, or again the honorific prefix. Then we have yaku. And actually here we have technically another exception, because yaku is the Chinese reading of the kanji. It has to be said that in this case, well, usually when we find go is usually with Chinese compounds. So it could be also because of that we have o instead in this case. Yaku on its own means role, assignment, responsibility, duty, function, which is the translation that we need here. Job, service, of course, by extension, position of responsibility, post / office, not post office. There's another word for that. By extension, also part in a play, film, and so on, role, character. Yaku. I want to check if I can find it here with the accent, even though I have some doubts. Nope. So let's simply hope that it's oyaku, still accented on the last syllable. Then we have the particle ni, to. And then we have the verb tatete from tateru, which literally means, well, there's another one with a different meaning, even if it's definitely related. This one is the one to stand up, as in the sense to put up, to set up, to erect, to raise. And so the transitive form of the verb tatsu, which we have seen before, because of another expression like this one. Tatsu means to stand up, as in the intransitive verb. So in intransitive, eru transitive, another couple of verbs like this. By the way, the other tateru means to build, to construct with another kanji, but clearly the origin is most likely the same. To put up of a construction, to set up a construction, and so to build, to construct. But yes, this one is the regular one, the fundamental one, to stand up, to put up. To put up, to use. And so, oyaku ni tateru, yaku ni tateru, of course, then also without the honorific o, means to put, to use. To make good use of. It's a ru verb, it's done verb, and so we can drop the ru to add the te and make the te form. Here required again to then add kudasai and make the imperative polite. And so the translation becomes please make me the favor of, literally. In translation, then, please put it, it, of course, implied of the prized, of the treasured item, put it to some use. And there we have the translation. And, of course, last but not least, we have the Peachy, because it's a letter from Peach. And then next to it we have the icon of the item she's actually sending us. Happy Wing, quite a useful item. So we'll go back to the game and actually get it. And we actually get this screen. I didn't remember that this was a thing. This definitely wasn't a thing in the original game. First and foremost, at the top we can see Warudo, again, world. Most likely the one here is read with Chinese numbers, as that's the most common reading when on their own. So Ichi, Warudo, Ichi. Perfecto, from English, perfect. We check the accent, but should be as usual. Ah, no, yes, we have actually seen it before, I think. The accent is on the fe because, of course, because of perfect. And of course, the Japanese only have one accent. They don't change it like in English for words from English. And so it is on the fe, perfecto. But yes, it's perfect in this case as the adjective. Of course, also as an abbreviation of, as I mentioned before, of perfecto game, perfect game in baseball, because baseball is quite important, is quite popular in Japan. And so yes, we got this perfect because we played all the levels of this world. And then, of course, it's asking us again if we want to save your implied data up to here, literally. And then, of course, hi, yes, yeah, no. Yes, we are saving, of course. It's saving. Literally it is saving, セーブしています、しています。And yeah, with that we have completed actually technically World 1. And so here we are in World 2. But we definitely don't have the time to start it because we want to... well, we'll try to get to the midpoint next time. Actually, maybe even play it fully. But we'll see next time. I'll quickly close the game this way. Well, I'll also save it here. Even though I shouldn't... to keep it there in case something goes wrong, but it shouldn't. We quickly check. Yeah, and now we have an 8, and so yes, we were at 5, then we played stage 5, stage 6, the Toad House and the enemy, the Hammer Bros didn't count, and then the airship, so 3 levels, and so our total is that's definitely the number of levels you've played, from 5 to 8, and yes, that's it. We'll quickly open it just to check, and yes, we are at the start of World 2. So, with that, we can close the game. And yeah, so today we've just finished World 1, because of course we then had all those writings to read, translate and explain. And so, next time, which... unless plans change, should be on Monday for this series. We'll continue playing Super Mario Advance 4. We start World 2. Tomorrow at 3 p.m. for me, you can, so the usual Sunday streams, you can then check, of course, your time in the description of the channel, the corresponding time for you, when the stream will be ready. If possible, I'll try to actually make it ready now and then before going to bed. And last but not least, of course, on Sunday we'll play a game mostly just for fun. We'll see. Technically, I haven't decided it yet, but I do have an idea, and potential idea, actually related to something seen in the direct. So yes, well, we'll see. Okay, so see you tomorrow, first and foremost, for the reaction to the Japanese direct. Okay. See you next time.